رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء.
Yo guys, this is your boy Rich Islam. I'm back again with another reaction video. Yo guys, today we're going to react on a particular video says Shaytan's Media. Yo guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share to your family, friends, everybody. Let's everybody find out what it says about this video. So guys, without wasting more time, let's tap into it.
Television, we know, is harmful. It's a low-grade addiction according to studies in the United States. Watching a lot of television is harmful. We know that in the first trimester, a lot of being on the computer, women that work on computers that are pregnant in the first trimester, it's actually dangerous to the fetus, which means an aborted fetus means that it wasn't viable. And the reason it wasn't viable is because of the electromagnetic field. So you're in these fields that are actually quite harmful. We're a guinea pig generation. We don't know what a lot of this stuff is doing to our brains. But we do know, for instance, that attention deficit disorder is much more prevalent than it's ever been. Autism is becoming one of the most widespread illnesses in children. I mean, the autism, the numbers and the rates of autism are very terrifying. So a lot of this is the technology. I'm not anti-technology, but I think the technology has to be controlled. And that we have Facebook addiction. We have people that just can't get off the Facebook. I call FB, I call it fitna book. In fact, Imam al-Ghazali quotes in one of his nasiha books where he says, كل الفتن تنشأ عن ثلاثة نفر. All of fitna come from three people. قائل الأخبار, طالب استماع الأخبار, ومتلقي الأخبار. ولا يخلص أحدهم من الملامة. Those newscasters, news seekers, and news consumers. All of tribulation in the world comes from those three. And this is why it's created so much fitna in the world. And people need to understand that this technology is new technology. And the Prophet, one of the signs, he said, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, he asked if the hour had signs, and the Prophet said, Ya Ibn Mas'ud, inna lisa'ati asharata, the hour has signs. And then he said, وَمِنْ أَشَرَاطِهَا أَن تُوَاصِلَ الْأَطْبَاقِ وَتُقْطَعِ الْأَرْحَامِ. He said that the atbaq would be continuous, and the people would sever their kinship bonds. Now, in the traditional tafsirs, they said it would mean they would eat one plate after another. When I read that hadith, it didn't convince me that that was the meaning. And I really believe that the meaning of that is muwasalat al-aqb. In North Africa, they called the satellite dish tabaq, which is a correct ta'reeb. Because sahan is a flat dish, tabaq is a curved dish, because it's made of tabaqat. And if you look at satellites, dishes, they have these tabaqat on them, atbaq. And the word in modern Arabic for satellite communications is muwasalat. So the very same word he used, that they will watch dishes. They will, tuwasal al-atbaq, the dishes will be continuous, their communication will be continuous. Min kulli hadabin yansilun. From every high place, the Yajuj and Majuj would come down. And hadab in Arabic means wave. Hadab al-mawj. In Lisan al-Arab, it's one of the meanings of wave. And so we've got these waves of fitan, of pornography, of filth, of foulness, and Muslims are drinking these things up. And in the book of Fitan, the Prophet ﷺ said in Sahih Muslim, he said, تُعْرَضَ عَلَى الْقُلُوبِ إِنَّ الْفِتْنَةَ سَتُعْرَضُ عَلَى الْقُلُوبِ كَالْحَصِيرِ. That all of the fitan, seductive things, will be exposed to the hearts. And then he said, like hasir, like a matrix. And again, the early ulama, they didn't understand what that meant. Because he says, udan, horizontal and vertical lines. If you look at all the satellite dishes, they're matrices. They look just like hasir mats. And now all these fitan are coming into the hearts. And the Prophet said that those hearts that drink it, they won't reject evil. Because your children are growing up accustomed to foulness. They'll think all of this is normal. Human beings have a fitrah. The Prophet said, how will you be when you ta'muruna bil munkar wa tunkiruna al ma'ruf? How will you be when you start commanding to evil and forbidding good? That this is what happens when people drink this stuff up. And the Prophet said that their hearts will become black and dark. And this is, you can see this. What kind of sick society would build games for children where you kill people to get rewards? What kind of a sick society? That's a society that thrives on war. That's a society that its number one business is armaments manufacturing. It's a society that wants to spread strife in the world. And our society we're called Darus Salam, the abode of peace. Allah calls to the abode of peace. And that's why we should really, the young people have to understand what's happening to them. They have to understand what these things really mean. They're wasting your time. Shaytan is the great time waster. He steals your time. And then before you know it, you're dead and your life is over and you're unprepared to go into the next dimension.
All right, so look, here's the deal. They have been desensitizing us since we were born. And I'll give you some examples. Let's start with the big one. Let's start with words we hear all the time and never even think about. Let's start with the word entertainment. To entertain. What does that mean? To bind or hold. To bind or hold what? An audience's attention. Okay, now let's take the word Hollywood. Where does that come from? Well, Hollywood comes from the holly tree. And the ancient Druids, back in the day, used to take the holly tree, make wands to weave spells, cast spells, or channel spells. And when they needed help, they would consult the magi's or the mediums of the day to help channel their spells to the population. We'll cut to today. What do we have in our houses? We have these black boxes. What are they called? TVs. But if you stop and you say the word television, and when you turn on that television, what do you get? What's the first thing that pops up? A list of channels. And when you turn on those channels, what's on those channels? Programming. They are programming you. They've been programming your whole life. You don't even know it. They do it with your music. They do it with your TV. They do it with your movies. They do it with your games. They have been programming us and programming you since you were little, and you don't even know it because you don't even question it.
Starting in 1900, we entered a previously unimaginable time of modern technology. Advances that allowed the rulers of this world to construct and direct our stories in ways we previously never imagined. As a result, new techniques to control the population were realized. These are the people from the companies that we have trusted to deliver us our news and tell our stories. This has always been about controlling what we as the population think and hear. They help create our culture and influence our society. We as citizens only trust them because as a society, we think that the gatekeepers have our best interest in mind.
The dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts, and it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job. That is our job. That is our job. Our job.
As I was researching, I found that most of the early communication companies were developed for shipping or aviation. And a lot of the men that started these companies were commissioned by the military during World War I and World War II. Many of these men worked for the Army and Navy intelligence services, along with the OSS, which we know became the CIA. There were many examples of these men becoming the heads or founders of some of the biggest motion picture and media companies before and after their government or military service. I wanted to know how many of the media companies in today's world connected back to Washington. So I started looking. It was like a family tree. The connections between our government personnel and the media corporations was unbelievable. Google, Amazon, Netflix, Twitter, CNN, ABC. So what would happen if all these companies had the same political ideology or agenda? We as this population like to hear people confirm our confirmation biases. We like to hear people tell us that we're right. We don't like to be wrong. And we believe that the people on the media and the people that we're listening to have our best interests in mind. The problem is what if they don't? So if you stop and think about it, they can place any agenda on the population that they choose.
I think that Hollywood is teaching bad morals to the youth of this country as well as adults. Desensitizing of violence to the masses. You can't deny that. My kids have seen so many people get killed in very violent ways.
3 times as much gun violence now.
And the sex that's in PG-13 movies.
Why?
Every Disney movie, there's a major character, usually a parent, that gets killed. Trauma to the child. Why? It's so horrible. What a bad story. Why do you need to start a story with a parent dying? Always. It's so sad.
Under MK Ultra, they experimented on children. We were even taught this in psychophysiology program that if you get to a child between ages 1 and 6 or 1 or 8, especially with sexual abuse or sexual trauma, you will split their personality and they will be imprinted the rest of their life. And many times that results in split personalities and dissociative behavior and other things.
These occult topics are being introduced to our kids, and most parents aren't even aware of it. So the biggest surge with this occult type material took place in the late 60s and the early 70s with movies like The Exorcist, Amityville Horror, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, and Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby. And coincidentally, this same time period, it parallels the rise of the Church of Satan in Los Angeles, and it was founded by a guy named Anton LaVey.
So it is done.
When I was a police officer, we had cases of satanic cults right in Arlington, Virginia. Those have been around for decades. They're in the high schools, they're in the colleges, they're in the government, and they're in Hollywood.
I got to meet people like Sammy Davis and that kind of shit. Sammy told me he worshiped the devil. Sammy was like, you know, Satan is as powerful as God. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He says, why do you think there's so much anger in the world and killing and murder and the Satan? And he saw my reaction to it, and he kind of lightened up on it. And he was like, the Dantana is dark, and it's the candles on the table, and Sammy's face over the candle. You know, Satan is as powerful as God.
From our point of view, it really makes no difference whether you pray to a father god or to a mother goddess or to an entire gaggle of gods and goddesses.
Michael Aquino was a high-level officer in the National Security Agency. He was and is, you'll see him today, a practicing Satanist. He created the Satanic Temple of Set, which he still runs. He was a high-level NSA officer. He's a member of the association I used to be in, the Association of Former Intelligence Officers, AFIO. He's a member of that. He's plugged in big time to the intelligence community, and he wrote a paper called Mind War. And Mind War was about psychological operations against populations, including the domestic population, using Satanist techniques and tools.
Yo, guys, I don't know. It's very true, very true. Now, because now everybody's attention is on social media, time on our phones. We don't even have time for something else. All the time on our phone. And I think that's the shaytan. That's the shaytan media now. Because, by the way, guys, let me know what you would learn from this video in the comment section below. Yo guys, I'll leave you here today till we meet in another video. Peace.